Okay, we're live.
Okay, I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Patterson Town Board on May 27, 2020. Will you all please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? And
Oh, nice.
so we've got a flag now. Are we ready?
Sure.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And to the republic
for which it
for which it
stands,
stands,
one nation, under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
liberty and
liberty,
justice for all.
justice for all.
justice for all.
for all. That was cool.
That was cool. Can we get a roll call? Eileen,
Yes, sorry.
can we get a roll call?
Sure. Mr. Cook,
Here,
Mrs. Andriano,
Here,
Mr. Rogan,
Here.
Ms. Smith. Here. Mr. Williams.
Here. Somebody like to make a motion on the abstract?
I will make a motion to approve abstract number 9 as submitted in the amount of $131,298.42. So moved.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, would somebody like to make a motion on a budget transfer?
I will do that. We have budget transfer number 8, moving money from, in the highway department, from general repairs contractual expense accounts in the amount of $925 to account machinery and capital outlay expense accounts in the amount of $925. I will make a motion that the town board approve budget transfer request number 8. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, Mary.
Okay. First item on my agenda is the Census 21 training. We received a request from a representative of the Census Bureau requesting to use the Recreation Center for training of their employees. We do not have the details of such request on dates, times, and their processes for doing this. So we're going to put this on hold and put the approval on hold pending the details of the training that they're requesting. The second item on my agenda is extending accrual time. We have a recommendation from the town comptroller, Trish Brooks, making a recommendation that we extend for union as well as non-union employees due to the pandemic and the employees not being able to use their vacation accruals. So we have a recommendation asking us to approve an additional 10 days be allowed, equal to 2 weeks, to be carried over for a maximum of 6 months from each employee's anniversary date. So I'll make a motion to approve the carryover of the employees' accruals per their anniversary date. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's all I
Peter.
have.
okay, first item I have is the EMS salaries. So I have a memo here from Denise Montana, our EMS supervisor. I'm sorry, this is from the supervisor, town supervisor, correct?
It's from me, Pete.
Okay, so there are several EMTs. There were 3 EMTs that were not included with, their names were included on the 2020 final budget. Their anniversaries will be coming up in September and October. So the request was to bring them up. So they're currently getting paid $15 per hour, and the new contract, the new final budget, rather, 2020 is $15.30 per hour. So the request was on their anniversary dates to make it bump them up to $15.30 an hour. My only question is, so is our base salary when we hire someone, the base salary is $15 per hour?
Correct.
That's correct.
And then they, as they hit their anniversary, they get bumped up.
Correct.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to adjust following Nicole Rubin, Jeffrey Priscilla, and Andrew Weiss from $15 an hour to $15.30 per hour on their anniversary dates, which are in September and October. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Second item is the hazard mitigation plan update. So as Rich mentioned last week, that we will be participating in the updated Putnam County Hazard Mitigation Plan, which the plan was created 5 years ago. Rich asked me to be his alternate or deputy on the
Associate.
committee. Associate, okay. It was something like that. So we had a meeting last week, and then there was a meeting today. Unfortunately, I didn't make the meeting today, but as far as last week's meeting, we just kind of talked, it was pretty much introductions, kind of introduced what the plan was, talking about how we, it was created 5 years ago, just kind of all the players and everything else. And so I did miss today's meeting, unfortunately. I apologize. I was tied up with something, but Rich so graciously gave me some good bullet points that they talked about. So the kickoff meeting today was the HMP Planning Partnership. They'll be working to update the Putnam County Hazard Mitigation Plan. So again, it was initially completed in 2014. FEMA requires that it gets updated every 5 years. The importance of this plan is to build resilience and lessen recovery time in our community. The plan is also used to apply for funding for identified mitigation projects. So if we come across something that we need to fix for mitigation, we can apply for some funding. So with the plan in place, it'll help us with any grants or any funding we can try to apply for. So this committee is looking to have the initial work completed and the annex updated in about a month, with a final draft plan to the state by the fall. I guess, Rich, is that for the grant funding applications and stuff, or is that just their goal?
No, the grant funding, we can apply right now for grant funding under the original plan, I believe, but the grant funding really we start having those conversations after the plan gets approved. That won't happen until next spring when the state has approved it. It comes back to all the towns, and the towns are then going to have to approve it.
So some items as a town board, we need to start thinking about evacuation routes and procedures to evacuate residents prior to an event and during an event, shelter operations or shelter options, critical infrastructures and lifelines to ensure continued operation of critical infrastructure, temporary housing. So if people have to, their houses are on a floodplain and they need to be relocated, a place where they could bring in temporary housing, temporary trailers for people to live in, and permanent housing locations. So if their house is destroyed, where they would be located outside of a floodplain. Specific vulnerabilities that we're aware of in the community, like flood-prone areas, specific properties, critical facilities, lack of power, lack of backup power, places that need generators, whatnot. Places that have a single point of entry, so one way in and one way out. So if that one way in and one way out is compromised, there's no way to evacuate people or to move people. Types of hazards that are included in the plan. The previous plan talked about earthquakes, snowstorms, floods, extreme temperatures, and wildfires. And the new hazards that are being discussed, obviously, are pandemics and algae bloom. So those are new things that have new emergencies that have come up since the plan was created back in 2014. So a natural hazard can be considered as a geophysical event, which, when it occurs in extremes and human factor is involved, that may present a risk. So, obviously it's not just me and Rich on this. If you guys come across stuff that we mentioned that, that we could add to the plan, or, problems that we need to look at, let us know and we can bring it to the committee. So, Rich or Sean, did you have anything else on that, or?
Just, and Rich is probably going to bring this up. Rich, don't we have to take an action to approve signing the letter of intent?
Geez, I hope not. I already sent it in.
All right, well, I'll make that motion.
Ratify.
I mean, obviously, we're,
Does anybody not want to participate?
We're all
If you
in.
want- You could by motion ratify it for the record.
Fine.
Can it?
One
You follow
vote.
that, Sean?
yeah, no, I just was waiting. I didn't want to interrupt anyone. So I'll make a motion that the town board approve the ratification of the letter of intent, which will enable the town to be an active member of the Hazard Mitigation Planning Committee. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
I
Aye.
Yeah, I
can't
sent that
imagine
letter.
anybody. Yeah,
I sent that letter in after the last town board meeting when we had the discussion, and we kind of
Great.
put Pete on it. I needed that for the alternate. And I love Vinny.
We can't hear him. I can't hear him.
Well, that's good. I just want to toot our own horn a little bit. So there is a planning committee that is going to be working on the county all hazards plan. And it's comprised of all the towns and experts within the county. And then there's another committee that's the steering committee, which is just a select few individuals that have particular expertise in hazard planning that the county has selected to kind of oversee the whole operation. And three of the people they selected sit on this town board: Sean, Pete, and myself.
yeah, yeah. We're definitely Patterson strong right now.
It was really cool to hear a lot of nice words, especially the Deputy Commissioner of Emergency Services talking about Rich, how he was very instrumental on our last plan, and a lot of the work that went into it, Rich provided or helped steer. So that was really good to hear. A very nice compliment for Rich.
That's great.
Yeah, well
And
deserved.
been doing this way too long. Anyway, let's move on. Sean,
How about Charlie?
Charlie.
Charlie. Sorry, Charlie.
All right. Next, we have, the topic is recycling center permit checker. We've been advised that now our former permit checker, Gary Gee, has resigned from the position, and the supervisor and the sanitation administrator are recommending that the town board appoint Joseph Gaglione, a resident of Patterson, to this position. So I will make a motion that the town board approve the appointment of Mr. Joseph Gaglione with the salary that's so stated in the 2020 town budget. Rich, would that be effective today? Is that okay?
Sure, that would be fine. That would be fine.
Thank you.
He actually,
Effective,
he's starting tomorrow.
all right, effective tomorrow, whatever tomorrow's date is. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next, we have the Park Beach openings. We received from the supervisor a safety plan covering Veterans Park, Warren Beach, and Jackson Beach. And supervisors looking for any comments that we would have, if you haven't already done so. And to me, it looks like pretty inclusive, that covered a lot of areas here. And I guess we just have to decide on, in conjunction with Putnam County Health Department, when we can open these beaches and then decide on a date. And before we would open, we would have to see the various things that are in this safety plan are up and going, you know, whether it's marking off areas or getting copies of the safety plan into the lifeguards, et cetera. And we have to establish another permit checker at these locations so that the right people come in and help control, especially for this year, the reduced capacity with these locations. So anybody else want to chime in, including Mr. Supervisor?
A couple of quick things. I thought Rich's plan that he drafted was fantastic. It hit all the points that we wanted to hit. From last weekend, just some things that worked well from other towns, other municipalities that opened are some of the same ideas of marking some of the areas, beach or areas where people would be sitting, with some distance markers. It just gives people a real reference point of what 10-foot separation looks like, for instance. And I heard that that worked very well on some of the Putnam Valley beaches and also Tenetta Lake over in Southeast. Secondly, well, I'm sorry, go ahead, Mary.
No, go ahead.
Secondly, some of the information I got back was that it really helps to have confident people and potentially adults, not that the kids aren't capable, but it's a difficult position to be put in, to be enforcing some of the social distancing requirements. And I would encourage us to make sure that our code enforcement officials, both Bob and Lou, know that they need to be available to respond if called by someone from the beaches, or if Rich needs them, whomever, that they're notified. Because, you know, it's hard enough for these guards to do their job on the beach, which is to watch the swimmers and protect the swimmers. It's another thing to be looking over their shoulder, which I don't think would be appropriate for an actively working guard, to be looking at what people are doing behind them. So I think we probably all agree that having someone that's designated as a monitor, a gatekeeper, whatever, that is politely and gently reminding people of the rules, I think goes a long way. And I think the way we start out initially will set the tone for weeks to come. Not that we need to be heavy-handed, but I think we need to be able to reinforce that the community has the ability to make this work or not. It's really in their hands.
You know what I wanted to know, Sean, did they have to turn anyone away? Because that is what I was,
So
about. How would a lifeguard handle if we're at max capacity?
I didn't hear anything about turning people away. My staff from the health department who went out and did some checks spoke with each of the facilities about what worked and what wasn't working. And by and large, everything went very well for week one, except when a guard tried to tell a group of boys that they couldn't play basketball. And then it got into a big heated discussion that they were, it went off on a line or a tangent that it probably shouldn't have. So it just, we just need to make sure that we're not putting our staff out there, especially inexperienced people, without the support that they might need. And then I think everybody needs to understand the rules and apply them as politely and, just know that we need to work with people the best way we can.
And the other thing I wanted to raise was that if a family comes in, like my family's big, because we're all together,
Yeah.
So we're kind of quarantined together. So if we all
Sure.
got together and went to the beach, it would look like we were, is there some way maybe we could get wristbands that a whole family could wear a certain color together so that, they're not being approached? It kind of, darkens the mood of going out and then being told when you're with your family that you can be with to separate, you shouldn't be together.
Yeah.
So
well, Mary, I don't know that that's our job to figure out what a family unit is or not. I think we have to put a little bit of trust in people, in terms of someone, if 7 people come together and they say, well, we're all in the same family, I don't think we have any reason to go any further with that.
That wasn't my point. My point was if they come in as a group and they say they're a family and the lifeguard let them in, we don't want the code enforcer going up to them and telling them, you guys got to separate.
No, I don't think that would ever be an issue. I think it would be more that, so you have a group of people sitting together, they're all on one blanket or they're all on the beach together. Yeah, I don't think that would be an issue. I think it's when, it seemed like there weren't many issues. People, I think, again, when you put up some good signage, which I know Rich had proposed having printed out, and you make sure people know from the gatekeeper, and you have people just politely walking around and talking to folks and let them know that, this is a community facility and we want it for everyone, and it's within their hands to keep it open. Nobody wants to have a problem. So
Sean, if I could just jump in here,
sure.
I share the same concern with Mary. Here's where the difficulty lies in trying to enforce this. There's a suggestion, made in the guidance documents that the 10-foot area should be flagged out. Well, it's 10 feet from the blanket, so you have to assume what size the blanket is. All right.
Right.
And, okay, then you go out there and you put flags in the ground and everybody has to stay in their little square. But then what do you do when you get somebody like Mary's family where they're coming in, they need 3 blankets, so
Absolutely. So
doing the flagging is complicated.
no, I don't think we should do the flagging in that sense. I think that what I heard, and I didn't see it with my own eyes, was that people put up some flagging to let people know what 10 feet looked like. As you probably, I bet every one of us, if we said, hey, draw something on the ground that was 10 feet, we'd probably all come up with different answers. That's just the reality of it. So I think they did it in the vein of, here's what 10 feet looks like, rather than, hey, let's mark out every little spot on the beach where people can sit.
So I've been trying to come up with a concept where we could have movable markers.
Oh.
That somebody could come out there, here's my 10-foot space.
Yeah.
They could move them around as needed.
Yeah. It's a good idea. But Rich, maybe what we should do is reach out to Tony Hay or Sam Oliverio. Now, Tony might not know off the cuff because, but his people would. He might put you in touch with the people running the beaches and see what worked for them and what didn't work, because they've already gone through a weekend of it. We might learn from, lessons learned kind of thing.
Sure. Sean, the supervisors are always talking amongst ourselves.
Okay.
Is there coordination? What's the coordination with the sheriff's department or the state police? Because I'm a little more worried that similar to what happened at Veterans Park earlier in the year, if the police agencies are alerted to the fact that the beaches are open, that they may be a little bit quicker to respond, not that they don't respond quickly, but the lifeguards or the code enforcement officer should be in a position where he could be able to pass the buck to the sheriff's department in the event of some people getting rowdy and objecting to the enforcement. So it doesn't put our local people in the position of being police.
Well, that's an interesting point, Don, because all along the enforcement for social distancing has been code enforcement and local police. And my guess is that our local police would certainly appreciate if things went through our code enforcement first and only went to them if it was a public safety issue. Like you said, somebody really getting out of hand where they need to be ejected from the park and they weren't listening to our code enforcement. Because you can imagine the police. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
And that's part of the training that we have to do is with our lifeguards, so that they understand when to call code enforcement and when to call the sheriff's office.
Exactly.
And that's part of the training and all this we have to get out there.
Yeah.
So we put a little list together.
Yep.
Of what we should be calling.
And I would have to assume that the police agencies are alert to this, that they, if not, maybe a quick phone call just so the desk sergeant could send out a bulletin, whatever happens, Pete, the appropriate way to do it, so people understand the beaches could be a potential hotspot.
And also remember that the local police have been dealing with these sorts of issues now for 3 months.
Right.
So they're probably well aware of, the types of calls they've been getting, and whether it's at a beach or at a restaurant or at some other facility, they're all the same type of issues. So they've been dealing with it and probably, looking forward to doing something else, I'm sure.
Yeah, sure.
So are we going to have extra checkers on staff at the gates, or is it going to be the lifeguards rotating through, or?
Well, that's a very good question, Pete. So normally we have 2 lifeguards on every beach, but with the new mandate, we're going to have 3 people on the beach. Now, whether that's going to be a 3rd lifeguard so they could just keep rotating. But one of the questions that I was about to ask was, does anybody have any problem with me tapping into the recreation center employees?
That's a great idea.
Yeah, I think that'd be good.
Because
fine.
the person at the gate doesn't necessarily need to be a lifeguard. And we have some more senior staff at the rec center, adults, that might be better as at the gate, at least initially.
That sounds good.
Yeah, leave the lifeguards to lifeguarding, and we don't even know what issues we're going to have with staffing anyway. So,
Correct.
If you need them, so I think that's a great idea to use the rec staff.
Yeah,
Okay. So everybody knows I'm targeting not this Saturday, but a week from this Saturday to open the beaches. We have 10 lifeguards ready to go. We've got to work out some details about how we're going to be cleaning the bathrooms 3 times a day. I've got some thoughts I'm trying to work through. I don't know that we're going to do a deep cleaning like everybody wants, but we're going to do the best we can. Sean, you look like you want to say something.
You know me, I always want to say something. Yeah, I agree with you, Rich. We're not talking about somebody going in and mopping the floors and cleaning out the toilet bowls. We're talking about going in with some sanitizer and some paper towels and wiping the common touch surfaces like the faucets, the doorknobs, some of those things. But I agree. And I don't think it should be a job that takes a whole lot of time. It's just a quick, sanitization of those common surfaces a couple of times a day, 3 times a day at least.
Sure. Remember, 2 of the beaches have porta sands on them. So
Even easier then.
right.
Yeah.
Yes. So I talked to a professional cleaner about how to do that. And
Great.
it may not be a big a problem as I thought it might have been if we can get the chemical.
Okay.
So,
Well, the porta sands usually have hand sanitizer in them because there's no running water, right?
right.
And what about over at Veterans Park? Do they have hand sanitizers, dispensers? Maybe we
They
can
have
get
running
them
water
in the.
generally with soap.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything
Great.
else on the plan?
No.
Rich,
Yes.
do you want a motion to accept these safety plans? Or you just move forward?
Wouldn't hurt to have a motion to accept the safety plans for Warren Beach, Jackson Beach, and Veterans Memorial Park.
Okay, because most likely, right, the safety plan itself would have to be given to the lifeguards, at least as a backup to show, this is the plan for the town for this location.
Correct. Yes.
All right. So I'll make a motion that the town board approve the safety plans as presented by the supervisor for Jackson Beach, Warren Beach, and Veterans Park. So moved.
Second,
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
All right. We do have a couple of other things. Charlie, you have the estimates?
Yeah.
Me,
Yes.
what are you looking for?
All right. Let me do this real quick. So in order to open up the beaches over in Putnam Lake, we need to clear the weeds out. We do this every year. We received an estimate from Consolado Construction Corporation in the amount of $640 per day. It usually takes about 4 days. And then there may be a little bit of touch up. So I'd like to approve the estimate from Consolado Construction to remove the beaches on Warren and Jackson Beach in the amount of $640 for a total of 4 days. So moved.
Second, just for a discussion item.
Go ahead.
Just to make sure, the estimate says $640 daily per laborer cost. So I just wanted to make sure that the way they worded that is kind of quirky.
I know.
Okay.
Yep.
But it's whatever it takes, 4 people or whatever, because if it's that much, then it's going to be a lot of people wanting that job.
So if they have 2 laborers out there, they're going to do it in half the time.
Okay.
Not to exceed 640, no matter how many people they bring in.
No, that's not what I said.
No, that's not it.
640
It's 640.
It's 640
times 4.
per
for the
labor.
laborer for the day.
Ooh,
For
And
both
it's open.
beaches.
And a day equaling 8 hours a day?
Generally.
that kind of open-ended for us. Because we're capping it at 4 days.
Yeah. So in essence, to be more clear, Rich, what you're saying is that it's $640 a day for a total of 4 days. So it's no more than the 24 or $2,500 essentially.
Correct.
Right. So for that one day at $640, there might be 4 laborers there. It doesn't matter as long as the full amount isn't more than the 4-day total.
Correct.
Right.
And
Okay.
they're all-
So it's, okay, so it's 640 per day, no matter how many people they have working.
It's 640 per day per man.
Per man.
Okay. But now it brings up my original question. I'm sorry. We're going to beat this one around a minute. If they put 4 guys there for one day and get it all done in one day, then we're 640 times 4 essentially. Right.
Correct.
But if they put 1 guy there and it takes 4 days, it's the same amount.
Right. I think.
Yeah. I still can't figure out why it's 640 for one day for somebody to jump in the water and pull weeds.
Per person, that's ridiculous.
Well, you want to not do this? I'll see if I can find another way.
Well,
Is
maybe
this
No, I
what
just,
they usually do?
to clarify this, how many, maybe you just want to have them clarify this. It's daily per laborer cost to pull, so it is saying, so how many are we asking for them to bring each day?
All right, where are we?
Does it say if there's a cap on the total?
All right, so how about this? Let me amend my motion. I'd like to make a motion to approve Consolado Construction Corporation to remove the weeds on Warren and Jackson Beach for an amount not to exceed $2,560.
second.
Is this something we've done in the past? Is this what we do every year?
Every year,
I mean,
Pete.
We've done it
Same
about,
price?
I believe we've done it 2 years in a row. Before
Yeah.
that, the Park District Park Advisory Board was doing it.
Yeah, I know it's a lot of work, and I
Yeah.
was just wondering, it's the same price though? It's the same price every year? Everything's the same?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
close to the same price.
I'll second, Rich.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, the second thing we need to put out that we have received prices on. The Park Advisory Board solicited prices for putting the docks back in the water and doing repairs on the docks. And they came up with an estimate also from Consolado Construction Corporation in the amount of $2,600 to put the docks, to repair the docks and install the docks back in the water. So I'd like to make a motion that we approve Consolado Construction Corporation in the amount of $2,600.
Second.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Okay.
Sean, you're up.
Alrighty, thank you. So we had spoken last meeting, we had at least begun the conversation about increasing some fees. Rich had provided a memo with some cross-reference to what the fees are and also what some of the other towns are charging, with a recommendation to increase our fees. They haven't been increased in 13 years. And the board may recall that we discussed last week or 2 weeks ago when we met what those increased fees go to for the subdivision fees and then the recreation fees. And you may recall the recreation fees are to offset the increased use of recreation, or the requirement of recreation that's needed by an increase in our population, essentially. And in some cases, subdivisions will create improvements or provide land, but in many cases, they pay the rec fees. And that goes into a pot of money that we can use to do things like improvements to the rec center and other types of improvements like Club Park and things like that. So, Rich, a procedural question. Do we, on something like this, do we have to do a public hearing?
No, we do not.
Okay,
We changed the rules many years ago, so we do it by resolution to amend the fee schedule to incorporate the fees.
okay. So, any conversation, discussion from anyone on the board on this?
I just had a question about so if they don't want to pay the fee, they want to provide land for recreation. Is there a set amount of land that is there a minimum amount of land they have to give?
Well, there's generally a discussion between the planning board and the applicant about, whether the land is even suitable and how much is suitable. And, that all gets factored into the subdivision plat then at that point.
They
But
can't,
there-
so they
no,
can't
there is
just,
no set amount.
they don't just have a corner of the subdivision where it's all swamp and say, okay, this is going to be our recreation.
And the
Yeah,
planning board would never go for that.
yeah, we
Really
have to
based
trust
on-
our planning board to do the right thing for the town.
It's based
Yeah.
generally, Pete, on the potential increased demand for recreation
Mhm.
facilities created by the subdivision. So that's.
And I can't remember, Rich, can you remember a subdivision that did that in lieu of paying the fees in the last 15 years?
Yes,
Which one?
Van Cleef.
Van Cleef, okay. Yeah, so it does happen, just doesn't happen very often.
That was the only one in my tenure.
Yeah. Okay, so any other questions from anyone on the board? No? Okay, so the fee structure was provided by Rich to the town board, the current fees with the proposed fees, they're not significant increases, but they will allow for the greater time that it takes for the review and the approval of these subdivision applications and the recreation fee. So I'll make a motion that the town board approves the proposed fee increases for subdivision review fees and the recreation in lieu of land fee to go from the current, which is 6,000 to 8,500. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. And the second item, again, a similar item to what we discussed just a few weeks ago when we were talking about paper roads over in Putt Lake. We have another request from a resident who would like consideration by the town for the development of, in this case, it would actually be potentially 2 different paper roads that are unimproved at this time for the development of an individual parcel. Rich has sent over a request to Russ Goff for a review and some opinions on essentially what would be lesser town road standards, because as many of you know, when we build out a road, we have to build it to certain specifications. Things like the width of the road, the drainage improvements that are required, the macadam surface, etc. And many people have requested relief over the years when just building one house to say that it is cost prohibitive for the improvements to be done to full town road specs. So Rich's memo asks a number of pertinent questions to Russ, like, do we need to provide the full width? Do we need to provide a turnaround for plowing the roads, etc.? I'm assuming, Rich, we haven't heard back yet from Russ.
We have not.
Okay. And again, procedurally, Rich, the applicant, his request is a little bit, the wording on it isn't as clear. I mean, maybe he doesn't know the right words to use, but he's asking for the variances and I guess assistance with the variances. Is he just referring to the variance from town road spec? That wouldn't necessarily be by the zoning board though, correct?
No, because, and Don, chime in here.
No, it's a variance from the road spec
Correct.
regs. It's not a
Right.
variance of 280A's frontage requirements because the lots are already shown on paper roads that are unopened roads shown on a file map. So a variance from the zoning board would not be necessary. But again, this section does give a lot of flexibility to the town in determining what a road would require to be, quote, suitably improved. And that's the essence of the information that Rich has requested of Russ. And there will likely be some chiming in from the town engineer as well. So.
Right. Okay. Rich, the lot area, looking at the map and looking at your memo, I mean, many of these lots, I know they were built many years ago, but it's amazing that they fit. You notice when the overlay of the picture you showed, where it shows the lot lines overlaid with the improvements, you can see that many of the lots obviously barely fit or don't fit. Has there ever been a time where we asked an applicant to at least begin to look at whether or not the lot is buildable? Because it just seems like it's so difficult with setbacks. And I realize that there are lots of variances given and waivers in some cases because of these old subdivision lots, but it seems like this is a fairly small lot that he's looking to build on.
It is a small lot. You know, the benefit to him is that there are 3 or 4 other lots in that immediate area that haven't been built on.
Yeah.
One of the constraints of building in Putnam Lake is trying to have a lot sitting in between all these houses with the wells and the septics and meeting all the current separation requirements.
Right.
I think he's going to be able to do that.
Okay.
But to answer your question, no, I don't believe any lot is, any property owner has been asked to prove the lot is buildable before he starts dealing with the town on a road issue or a variance issue.
Okay. Well, then the bottom line is if we can set some standards or some guidelines for this case, it would also let people know what could potentially occur for another lot that might be in the same area. You know, understanding, of course, that as we increase the number of lots, the improvements usually increase as well.
Sure.
Okay.
Can you just clarify which lot it is? I'm sorry. So if we're going up Ithaca and you're making a left on Yates, is it?
It's going to be the second lot in on the left.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll move to table this discussion until we hear back from our highway superintendent and town engineer, if appropriate.
Nobody else has any questions, discussion?
No.
Okay, moving on.
Thank you.
All right, first on my agenda is the Families First coronavirus response. This is the legislation that was adopted back in March by the federal government, Congress. In that legislation, they set up a couple of new programs which affect our employees and our employee benefits. This in particular provides for 12 weeks of unpaid, 12 weeks of paid vacation, paid time off at 2/3 the normal rate of pay. And there are some other elements to it. And we need to find a way that it fits in with our current scheme of benefits to our employees, which is why I'm bringing it to your attention. This came up recently again, because of the next issue on the agenda, where we have someone who has a great deal of difficulty coming back to work full time because there is currently no daycare available for them and their children. But the bottom line in all this is an extension of the Family Medical Leave Act, FMLA, which we've been dealing with for years. FMLA is generally unpaid. But in this case, Congress deemed fit to require the town to pay 2/3 of the rate. And, in working through it, I was surprised at some of the details. We talked to the Department of Labor, just so everybody's aware. And they were of the opinion that New York pause constitutes paid leave under this act. So the time that everybody has been out that we've been paying them counts towards this. So whereas somebody would pick this up from the federal government and say, oh, I'm entitled to 12 weeks, at this point, they're actually entitled to 6 weeks. So they don't have the paid leave that they have. But one of the issues is in our employment policy, when you're doing FMLA, which is unpaid, our employment policy requires you to take your paid time off before you actually can take the FMLA. We're allowed to do that. And that's what we're looking at really here with this. My recommendation to the board is we continue that policy that we've had in our handbook for many, many years, and that under this program, they would need to use their time off concurrently with the extended FMLA. And that's my recommendation to the board.
Don, do you have any input into this?
I do not really. I think Rich's memo outlines it very clearly, and I know that Jeff Travers had also opined on it. We really have not. We haven't spent a lot of time sinking into it.
Okay.
So Rich, an employee can take 12 weeks at 2/3 pay?
Yes.
Okay. And then after the 12 weeks, they could go and take additional time off unpaid?
Or on their own accrual time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, but that's the problem that we have is we would be paying them, for the 12 weeks that they would be taking off. And then if they had, say, another 8 weeks of accrued time, we would be paying them 20 weeks, which is why my recommendation to the board is bad as it may sound, is that we run the paid time off that they're getting from the town concurrently with the extended FMLA, so that we would lump it all together. They would then get their full pay for the time that they're off, but they wouldn't be able to extend it out for 20 weeks. As an employer, my responsibility here, in my opinion, is to provide a service to our residents and make sure that I'm adequately staffed to do that. And, as bad as it may sound, I can't have a group of employees that are sitting out for 20 weeks, and not having their functions fulfilled, or I have to go hire somebody else to do that.
Yeah.
It's just going to run the tax bill up for the taxpayers. So I'm looking at ways to try to protect everybody, give the employees what they're, entitled to, the additional benefits, but also protect our taxpayers.
Now, for that
Rich.
time, do they have to take it consecutively, or can they break it up? Because it looked like in the memo that they wanted to both work part-time.
Well, that's another, what they're proposing now. Initially, they wanted to take the time off using this program. They then came back to me, and that's the second part of this. They came back to me and says, now we don't want to take that program. We don't want to use that program, but we can structure our days so that basically we don't need to use that program and, we're still going to keep working. And, we just need some flexibility in how we're going to do that.
Well, I know it's almost two separate discussions, but I liked the idea that the people we're speaking about came up with a creative way of trying to still get the work done, trying to meet their needs, but also get the work of the town done. And I appreciate that, rather than saying, no, I want what I want and I don't care how it's going to happen, because you would hope that's what the employees would do, is have a recognition of the responsibilities of their job.
So what I'm going to do when we start talking about that, that second part with that employee, and their proposal to the town about splitting their time, working extended hours, is that the time that they normally are looking to take off from their accruals, that again, we factor in this program and give them the 2/3 so that they're not fully using their accruals.
So it would be the days they don't work, they would get the 2/3. Is that
Correct.
Mm-hmm. So it'll extend out to 12 weeks. It won't be a theoretical, it's a 12 weeks of accrued time, not 12 consecutive weeks or anything like that. I think that was what Charlie was getting at before.
Right. It doesn't have to be consecutive weeks.
Correct. It's
It
just
all has to be in 2020.
Does it have to be consecutive days?
No,
Oh, okay. So,
it's just a length of total time.
That'd be nice, because if they burn their accrual time, what happens October, they have a family emergency. And
Yeah.
no time,
Correct.
mhm.
Rich, with this same type of the FMLA or the same kind of program we're talking about, would that apply to someone who had a serious medical illness and needed to be out for some medical reason for 3 months? I mean, this happens in life. These sorts of things happen. And we would want to work with that employee.
So FMLA does. That's what FMLA is for.
Mhm.
But these two programs are fairly specific to coronavirus, being sick from coronavirus, or
Mhm.
knowing somebody that you need to take care of that's sick. Or in the case of the second program, the extended FMLA is specific to having to provide child care because the daycare centers are closed.
Got it. Now, this is all kind of a moot point if 2 weeks from now, daycares are allowed to open under, say, phase 2, because it seems like things change every day around what's in each phase. But correct, if daycares were allowed to open, it should just be between now and whenever that point is, correct?
It should be.
Okay.
Yes. I know
Okay.
there's issues with her daycare
Mhm.
right now and her trying to get back in.
Mhm.
But there's also going to be issues when school comes along.
Yeah.
Because we're not sure what's going on with the school year. I've heard some pretty incredible rumors anyway, that,
Yeah.
the requirements that the state is looking for is going to force the schools to close.
You also have to worry about, even if the daycares do open, I'm sure they're probably going to have a minimum, a max capacity. They're probably not going to, be in full swing.
Yeah.
So, she may even be rejected for the daycare.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They might only take those who are there Monday through Friday or. As far as that position goes, is there, with the altered schedule, is there any way like that we could have 2 days a week be specific for those meeting with the builders, and the engineers? Can we make that those would be the only 2 days that they could come to the town hall for those specific reasons, to make sure that those are the days that she's there?
That would be challenging, and usually when the builders are coming into town hall, they're not meeting with her specifically
Mhm.
at this point.
Okay. But if there's specific things that she needs to be there for, can we put out, a calendar of these are the days that, she'll be here and you need to come.
Well, so certainly most of the submissions are being made by professional people, engineers, architects. And there's a lot of communication between myself and this individual and the engineers and architects, so they know when she's there,
Mhm.
that, they can reach out to her.
Okay.
All right. All right. So in the first case, I'd like to make a motion that the town board approves use of paid time off, vacation time, and personal time off concurrently with the extended FMLA requirements. So moved.
Second.
I'm sitting, it was awful quiet there. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. On the second issue, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the request for the flexing the time of the actually 2 employees, and also the use of the extended FMLA to offset the accrual time. So moved.
Second.
All in
Second.
favor?
All, aye.
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 Okay, last item on my agenda has to do with the recreation center employees. We had agreed to pay the recreation center employees because the recreation center was closed up until June 1st. That's expiring. Some of them I am hoping to bring back sometime in June to start working at the beaches, possibly earlier. But probably, the first week in June to start working in the beaches. I also, just so everybody knows, there is a request from the county to have any available town personnel register as contact tracers. I did reach out to 21 of the more senior staff that we have at the rec center to see, I put it to them, we would like you to be contact tracers. Please respond to me if you could be a contract tracer, and if not, why not? Of the 21 that, I'd put the request out to, and just so everybody knows, I had Matt put the request out on my behalf. I received, I believe, 4 responses back that said, yes, we would be contact tracers. I received no reply from 8 individuals, and no thanks because I'm too busy from 8 others. So I was a little disappointed with the response I got back, to say the least.
Mhm.
Especially considering we've been continuing to pay them.
Correct.
Well, no good deed goes unpunished, I suppose.
So, but we have a lot of senior staff, a lot of junior staff, and the fact that we've been paying them for not working at the rec center for all this time, we're at that crossroads where we need to extend that out, or we need to, make the conscious decision. These are part-time employees, and we're not going to continue to pay their salary.
Is there, so if we're sending some of them to I would say, why don't we just use them? I mean, the more hands at Veterans Park when the beach is open, the more at the beaches, and the ones that don't want to do that work, then,
No, I agree, Mary. We're gonna use every one of them, but this goes back to the discussion we had last meeting about whether we're gonna have camp this year.
Mhm.
And we're still not getting a solid answer from the state about whether they're even gonna let us have camp. And even if they say, let's go ahead and have camp, I don't know that, I would be very concerned about the town holding camp, even though it's such a necessary thing for parents as a place to have daycare for their kids. To put a bunch of young kids in a room all playing together. If one kid gets it, they're all gonna get it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree with you, Rich. I personally would not hold camps this summer. And I think offering to the rec staff, being the permit checkers at Veterans Park or over at Putnam, when you open that, it's going to be 7 days a week, and it's going to be, a full day type of operation. So I think there'll be plenty of time for the people to work. So, and plus, maybe, even having said that, Matt may have something for some of them to do in the rec center, paperwork or what have you, including what Sean mentioned earlier relative to, surface cleaning, et cetera. So, yeah, again, I'm just not in favor of the camps. I understand it's not going to be easy for folks and what have you, but getting these kids into the inside hours at a time, I just don't think it's a good idea.
Yeah, I agree with Charlie. In the way our camp is set up, it's a lot of indoors. So it's not like Camp Hurlick where they're outside most of the day. They're at the lake, I think, I was all in favor of holding out as long as we could, but I think we're to the point now where I think we kind of, we don't have clear direction at this point. And I don't think that, if we did have a camp, it would have to open late, and then it'd be probably difficult to staff because by that time, you have the staff. But I think if we do have enough work for them, and I'm thinking too, like even like Veterans Park, we're probably not going to put just one person over there, maybe two. They need breaks and or scatter the times or whatever. So there might be 2 or 3 scheduled per day throughout the day, however we decided. So I think there probably will be a lot of work for them. Like Charlie said, 7 days a week. If we maybe a couple of shifts. So.
John, you haven't heard anything about camps opening anytime soon, have you?
Boy, that's the $1 million question. Every phone call I'm on, I was on 3 today, and every one of them, they said, have we heard anything about camps? We have not heard anything. I'm still believing that camps are going to be allowed in some form, but I think this whole inflammatory illness that they're worried about with children is what's really on everyone's mind about whether it's going to happen or not. So the short answer is no, I haven't heard anything, but it is the number one question that I hear at every conference call.
I think if we were to have camp, it would have to be very modified and, a lot of cleaning going on. I think, for the amount of work and the amount of the logistics, it probably wouldn't be worth it for the type of camp that we have, for the recreation center camp. It's not like a sports camp or an outdoors camp.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree.
Yeah, and you always have to worry about, the parent that uses the camp as a daycare and they have to go to work and their child is sick.
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah, you're right. And that's on a good year.
Yeah, and even just feeling a little sick, but you'll be fine for today. It's Friday. So.
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
So go ahead.
If we don't have camp, and I think we should get the word out very quickly. People can start making, hopefully, other arrangements, and we go from there. I think Rich, you mentioned it, and the safety, the health of the young kids. It's our primary responsibility with regard to camps and so forth.
We have documentation of, I know you said that Matt reached out to the the staff from the rec asking, and you received 4, definites back and some were busy. Do we have that? Did that go out on paper? Did they sign that, or was this verbal, or?
The response is back.
Yeah, I'm just wondering because I'm thinking if one of the staff members said I'm too busy, they probably have another job. So we probably shouldn't be continuing to pay them. So if we want to differentiate who we're going to keep carrying past June 1, or if we're going to carry anyone, I would think that the ones who said they're too busy, we probably wouldn't want to carry, because even if we do open, they're not going to be there. They're not going to be available for us. And, we've kind of flushed money down the tube. So what I'm thinking is that we want to be definite on who said no and who said yes. So
All documented in emails.
Okay, good. Yeah, so I would say the ones that aren't interested or didn't even bother to answer probably aren't going to, even if we do open in some form, they won't be available to us.
Well, we can simply go down the road that everybody's coming back to work June 6th, whatever the date is.
Yeah.
And whether we're going to park them at a beach, or, we're going to have them cleaning the rec center, or, maybe we could find some work in here at town hall, or they can do contact tracing.
There you go. I like all the above, but I think we have to just say that as of a specific date, we're going back to full staffing.
Yeah.
And like you said, we'll come up with something safe for them to do.
Right.
That would enable them to stay on the payroll for their normal hours that they want. And if they decide not to take the job for that at that point in time, we can, that's fine.
And I guess, so obviously the job description is different. If we asked them to be a contact tracer and they were hired to be a junior rec staff, would we have to change the job description, or like, is it kind of they're a recreation staff and their duties are up to the discretion of the director?
I believe that came up as an issue with the county. The county was requiring a number of individuals who were CSEA employees. And it was determined that you don't need to change the job title. They can do the job as contact tracer. Did I get that right?
Especially when the requirements for a contact tracer are a high school diploma. So it's if anything, it might be an underfilling of a position, not an overfilling.
Right.
Yeah. But you know what, Rich, I think it's good that we got 4 people that affirmed that they would be interested in doing it. I think that's good also. Not as many as you might have wanted, but it's better than nothing.
No, I agree.
Is that 4 out of how many?
21.
Yeah.
So listen, I could have twisted some arms and I still could twist some arms.
But also sometimes, sometimes, a lot of them are kids, and you send out an email. Sometimes you got to kind of follow up a little bit with them. So.
Pete, I absolutely agree with you. A lot of these were not kids.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Listen, a lot of my staff, they took other jobs. They're working I see them in Home Depot. I see them in DeChico's. They're working other jobs.
Yeah.
Well,
listen, I know.
Just as a point of reference, Rich and I were both on a call earlier where the town of Carmel, I think what they did was anybody that was working from home got voluntold to be a contact tracer, and they put forth 20 people. And I know I spoke with someone this morning who said 4 of his staff were trained over the weekend. They took the online class over the holiday weekend, and they are signed up to be contact tracers. So, this is something that's going on in every town right now.
And I think we were very generous and paid them up until the end of May. We can't do that forever.
No.
I think we did our due diligence and took care of them, took care of our employees up until then. Ironically enough, my other daughter, who's 15, she was able to collect unemployment, and she's making a lot more than my daughter that was getting her paycheck from the rec center. So she wished she had collected unemployment instead of
continue collecting.
I've heard that from a lot of people.
All right, just one last thing I want to talk to the board about a little bit, just to let you all know that, we brought most of the staff back into town hall, and I'm very glad that we did. I think it was a good call on all our parts. We have seen, especially now that we're entering into phase one, the number of building permit applications has gone up quite a bit. The activity in the building department has gone up quite a bit. As everybody know, we had grievance night. I mentioned it earlier. It went off. We did a Zoom grievance night, and it went off fabulously, thanks to our videographer. There you go, Paul. And, the people coming in for fishing licenses and burning permits and recycling permits has gone up significantly. And it seems to be working, the plan that we have, that we've laid out, and, keeping the social distancing and keeping people in the outer lobby. That seems to be working fairly well. We do have the theater ropes up now, so it looks a little more presentable. We're slowly inching towards back to normal. Eileen, you got anything you wish to add?
No, I agree. It's been we're slowly getting back. It was great to have everybody back in the office today. It was getting a little bit lonely. But yeah, we've been busy in the town clerk's office, a lot of emailing and mailing of lots of permits. I revamped the website, the town clerk portion of the website. So all our forms are on the website. And so we were lucky to have that, because that's how we did get a lot of mail and emailing. And we were able to send people all their permits and boats. People wanted their boat stickers from Putnam Lake. So that was convenient. And, and now everybody is starting to come into the town hall. So it's working out well. I think the front looks great. The way we revamped the reception area, and the window is working well. And the outer lobby is all revamped. So that's very nice. It flows nicely. So it's getting better. So I'm happy to say.
Good.
Well, I
Great.
think kudos are in order for you,
Thank you.
Donna, Richard, and the rest of the staff. Well, I don't want to leave anybody out, but coming in, however they came in, kept the ship afloat. Remarkable. So
Yeah.
Deep appreciation. I'm sure I speak for Sean, Pete, Mary. The
residents, yes, the residents definitely appreciated someone answering the phone. I'll have to say, they definitely did. Hearing a live voice, they were excited about. And calming them and answering questions for them. I think it was important to physically be there.
Right.
And it helped a lot. So
It did, for the past couple of months, put a lot of strain on the town hall staff. Had to be a bit of an ogre and just drag everybody in. But, I think.
I don't think so. I think it was a good call. Very good call.
I think at the end of the day, it's worked out very well.
Mm-hmm.
We've been fortunate. So
yeah,
on to a new day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions? Anything else you want to bring up at this time?
I just
have one thing.
Charlie.
Oh, excuse me, Pete.
Good.
It's for Don, and I'm just want to ask. I just want to make sure I got her name. Bonnie, hear anything back from NYMAR yet?
No, she is not.
Okay.
She is not. But when we get the report that Rich referred to earlier, we'll kick in and resume looking at that.
Okay. Peter, sorry.
Oh, thanks. I just wanted to talk about the food drive that we had on the 16th. It was, God bless you.
God bless.
Thank you.
It was very successful. We collected a lot of good food. A lot of people came by and donated very, very generously. One woman pulled up with a minivan and opened the back of the van. It was packed. So I just wanted to thank all the volunteers. Thank Rich for getting there early and setting up and helping us out, getting us garbage bags when we need it and stuff. Ginny Nasarino, legislator Nasarino, was there for most of the day helping collect the food and sorting it. And my daughters, give a shout out to my daughters for hanging in there for a couple hours, and all a lot of the staff from the church, from the Patterson Presbyterian Church were there all day helping out, and it was just a great community event. Collecting a lot of food. At the end of the day, we brought the food over to the food pantry, and they were ecstatic. They were just, they said they really needed the food. They're giving out more than twice as much as they usually do. There's really a need for food and for a lot of these families in the area. So it was a really good thing. I think it was a win-win for everybody all around. So it was just a nice thing that we did for them.
Well, thank you, Pete and Rich and everybody else. What was good was how you had the listing of food that they were wanting for this drive. And I think that helped. But my daughter went out shopping. She used the list and dropped the stuff off, and wasn't going around saying, I wonder if they need this, I wonder if they need that. So that was a good point too. So thank you.
Yeah, it was a countywide effort. So kudos to the United Way for organizing it, and actually went a little smoother than I thought. But they, almost every town had a drop-off point around the county with volunteers. And yeah, Charlie, it was great that they had the list, because a lot of times you do these things and people show up with just different crazy foods. And some people did. Unfortunately, we had to throw away some things that just weren't suitable for a food pantry. They're not, they're perishable, and sometimes people kind of just cleaned out their closet and didn't look at the expiration dates. But for the most part, a lot of people were coming right from Acme, right from they did their Saturday morning grocery shopping and picked up some extra for the food drive. So a lot of people were very generous. It was very good.
Thank you for that. Yes, that was an amazing day. I was very shocked. So very generous people. Anyone else? We'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
We have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Everybody have a good evening, and I will
You
see
too.
you in a little bit.